Last week on the DLLS Stars mini pod, we discussed which teams improve the most in the Western Conference. You can go find that on our YouTube channel. It's very easy. This week, it's time for the Eastern Conference. So alongside Craig Ludwig and Sam Nessler, I'm Owen Newkirk. I don't know if we'll even have Luddy's attention for this entire mini pod. Which team do you think had the best offseason coming from the Eastern Conference? Luds.
I'm going to go with the defending two-time Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers. Now, I have pros and cons, but the reason I believe that is they got everybody signed that they had talked about that they wouldn't be able to keep everybody. So they got Brad Marchand signed, and they're going to pay him into, I don't know, some light year from now.
10-year deal.
Yeah, 10-year deal. Aaron Ekblad, who thought he was going to play for $1 million, got about 7 times that. So I think that they can, and I think the reason they did that is because they believe in the camaraderie, the way that they all fit, obviously what they did in the year prior, and they want to be called, because we can't call it a dynasty yet.
Not yet.
Not 2.
No,
I don't
but
even know if 3 is supposed to be.
3
Right?
is a dynasty.
Says who?
The definition of sports dynasty.
Okay, well, there you go. So I think they want to have the dynasty behind them. Now, the reason I'm on the other side of that fence is because of how much hockey this group has played. I mean, going to the Stanley Cup Finals 3 times, right? They had the Four Nations thing. They're going to have the Olympics. And the guys that we're talking about getting re-signed, they're not spring chickens. So I will be interested to see how that happens. Tkachuk, one of their key players, we'll see whenever he comes back and plays. He may not play until the playoffs. But so I do believe that if there were odds out there, which I'm sure there are, that I would probably be laying them on the Florida Panthers.
I looked at this yesterday because we were having a separate question about the betting odds about the Stanley Cup for the 2025-26 season. Everybody has Florida as the best, the
so
lowest odds.
That means they're not going to win now.
But they were the best odds last year too, coming off of winning the Cup. So here's my question for you about Florida. They, because of trying to fit all the forwards they kept and Aaron Ekblad, they had to jettison Nate Schmidt. They got Jeff Petrie, who at one point was a heck of a defenseman in the NHL. Didn't have a great year with Detroit last year. Is that a downgrade? And is it a downgrade that they're willing to take to keep the rest of the band together?
I would say if Jeff Petrie will play within what he's going to be in probably a bottom pair.
Yep.
If he accepts that, he won't be as offensively as Schmidt was, because, man, he was good, right?
Really
Nate
good.
Schmidt has always been a good defenseman. He had a couple years that were kind of down, but anyway, I think
I've always liked him as a defenseman.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that would have been a great target here, but didn't work. So
that's another mini pod.
That's for another day. I think he can. I think he can get in there and he can play the 12 minutes or whatever, as long as he wants to buy in and be that player, because he can be a physical guy. He can defend. He's a big body. And I think there's a lot of things that he can do. And I think that can be a seamless kind of thing. Probably the most important part about that is he buys in because he's at the end of the rope and he has an opportunity to win a Stanley Cup.
Do you worry, Sam, at all about the Panthers with energy, age, all that? Or
injury?
Is this the just get in team that doesn't need to be like they showed last year? They don't have to win the division because they know how to win in the playoffs.
That's the two sides of it. I thought last year they were going to run out of energy. Really did. I thought Tkachuk, especially when he had his injury in Four Nations, I was like, this team is beaten up. They played way too much hockey, three finals in a row once they got to this final one. I thought it was going to happen already. And then I looked back and heard rumors that it was actually a known plan to just kind of push along until January or February. They just thought, we have no idea what we're going to have. We're going to have players that are beaten, battered. We're going to have the Stanley Cup hangover a little bit. And they knew that, and they just embraced it. They kept chugging along. They stayed in that wild card third spot in the Atlantic. They kind of bounced around, and then they turned it on. And they were the best team in hockey from March to obviously winning the Cup. So I'm not going to doubt them. It's the old don't bet against them kind of thing right now. And I'll say if they do the same thing and they have guys healthy going in, there's no reason they shouldn't be among the favorites.
I think that, and if you're management and head coach, I think that you have those conversations with some of these guys that have some miles on them. And there may be times during the year where, for whatever reason is, injury, whatever you want to call
Marchand's
it.
out for 10 days.
You might miss 4 games, 5 games. But
Yeah.
we're going to do it strategically.
Yep.
and we're going to give you a break within the season somewhere, preferably after the first of the year. And then, just give you a little mental break and a little physical break.
What about the goaltending thing? And then we'll move on to Sam's pick, because Bobrovsky, even at 36, has clearly showed he can take the heavy workload and he can do it in the playoffs. And he was brilliant again. But they made a trade for Vitek Vanacek to give him a backup cover. They traded away Spencer Knight. They don't have either of those now. They went and picked up Danil Tarasov, who's only, I think, 26 years old, and he's basically on $1 million deal as the backup. Is that enough to support Bobrovsky?
I think you do the same thing with Bobrovsky if he's willing,
Yeah.
and realize what's in the
cut the workload.
Play him in 50 games.
Exactly. Play him. There's your number 45, 50, whatever
Yeah.
it may be, and maybe you give him a few more games at the end than you do in the beginning. Just get a little more rest. But the reason I feel that I would be comfortable saying that is because of what's in front of him. They just do such a good job in front of him. And, we don't see a lot of high danger chances with that team. They control the game. They control all three zones fairly well. I think that's suitable for Bob to be able to play in that system.
I wouldn't be surprised if Tarasov played more in the early going when they know they're going to have some of that hangover. Then let Bobrovsky kind of run with it from March or February.
That shows an interesting discipline, too. If they can stand not being great as far as win-loss record, maybe they'll be fine.
Yep.
But if they're willing to sacrifice maybe some early points, stay in the fray. Maybe it's also easier when you look at the Eastern Conference, and there was this clear divide between the haves and the have-nots. And if you're good enough to stay above that cutoff line or even near it, okay, we're better than these.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, what's your pick? Best offseason improvement from an Eastern Conference team?
Yeah, so mine's a little bit of a cheat because they didn't make much in terms of improvements, but I already thought they were good enough to win the Cup last year, Tampa Bay Lightning. I thought they were going to beat Florida straight up, and it looked like they were going to early on in that series. But I just felt like they were the team that started to really build. You look at their lineup in terms of changes. Basically, all they did was swap out Luke Glendening for Pontus, which is an upgrade. So that's pretty simple in terms of what they did. But then you look at Hagel, who just all of a sudden became a elite left winger who could play on a top line. I think he was ranked second or third best contracts in the NHL this summer. You got guys like Gord, who they brought back. You got obviously the big names of Kucherov and all them. I just think their depth, and the key for me was towards the end of the year, and the reason I believe they were going to win, that guy number 88 in the goal started to become Vasilevsky again. He can do that. This team should be up there with Florida competing for the top of that.
When you watch them get systematically picked apart by the Panthers in the playoffs, because I picked Tampa to go a long way, watching them surge toward the playoffs. We keep talking about this. Luds, the regular season is important because you have to build yourself up to the playoffs. But as you said before, game 82 means nothing if you don't play it in game 83 and beyond.
Yeah, and I don't. It's not that I disagree with you about Vasilevsky. I think the head coach has to have a conversation with him, try to dial him back a little.
Just like Bobrovsky, you want to take away some games.
Well, we know that Vasilevsky and Cooper's come out and said it. He goes, yeah, you guys always ask me why I won't pull him after 5 goals against. He goes, he won't come out.
Yeah.
He's not coming out. He wants to stand there. And I think it's time. I don't think he's been as good as he was early on.
63 games last year.
Yeah. And I think that I think that if he could start there and have a conversation and said, listen, here's what's important. And again, what's important. You got a couple of them already. But let's try to find a way to get a little rest here. And the other one that it seems to me like Hedman's getting a little dinged up occasionally. And for a big man,
not getting any younger,
right? So, but he's still effective and everything else. Those are my only that could be speed bumps, I think, for them. And again, I go back and I think Vasilevsky is key to that. I mean, when he's on, it's in the head of the other team. Right now, I felt games that I saw, the other teams were getting into the head of him because he just couldn't understand it. It looked like he was baffled by how goals were getting by him.
Okay, my turn. I have 2, and that's not cheating, like Sam said, because I have.
Let's pick the Cup champion.
One I want to pick. Well, it's his right, and then the one I actually believe it to be. So I want to pick the Carolina Hurricanes because they won the Nick Ehlers free agency pool or whatever, the race to Ehlers. I think Ehlers, if healthy, is a perfect fit for their system, and it's a change from Winnipeg for him, where he can play maybe not getting the attention as much as they do in Winnipeg media, and really go out there. The big key is that he hasn't played an 82-game season in a long time, and I don't expect him to do that. And as much as Carolina was able to wrench or finagle Keandre Miller out of the New York Rangers, and I think that's a good move for them. They lost Dmitry Orlov and Brent Burns. And I know Burns is getting up there, but boy, does he play a ton for his age.
Player.
And I just wonder about what happens when you lose the personality, the character in the room of a guy like that. So the question, but maybe it's Orlov. Maybe quietly Orlov is the bigger loss on the blue line for them. So I'm not going to pick the Hurricanes. And if you guys want to spout off, we have a couple minutes. I want to pick the Montreal Canadiens because they did get Zach Bolduc, who is a highly rated, although the St. Louis Blues were disappointed with his on-ice play, and they want him to develop more. But it's the Noah Dobson move for me. And he was one. You want to talk about Luds, a player you wanted for the Stars group. Noah Dobson was that guy. He solves your right-sided problem of not having that right shot top pair defenseman for the next 8 to 10 years if he continues to progress the way we think we will. Well, now they have Lane Hudson and Noah Dobson. They are top-end blue line loaded for a decade
Such
plus.
Good skaters, too.
And that, you put, Mike Matheson around that and that veteran presence, and we both are big Matheson fans. I just think what Montreal is doing is a really patient, slow build. They, are knocking on the door now. I don't think they're in the Stars or Edmonton Oilers or Panthers elite weight class yet. But if they keep growing like this, it's not going to be one of those flash in the pan and disappear kind of teams.
I think that management saw the progression of that team. That's why they did Dobson. Because, like you said, there's a piece that can shore up our back end. And they paid him. He'd look good here, but it's hard finding $1 million worth 10 times that. So, and obviously with Hudson, he's dynamite. I just think they're still kind of young. I think they can make more noise. I think they can get into the second round. I don't know what they'll do after that, but I like the direction that they're going. And I think, like you said, they've kind of bought time here.
Yes.
And said, we're not there yet. We're not there. Take a big swing. That was their big swing. As far as Carolina, I'm wondering if he needs to change this. Because this is a straight line, get pucks at the net.
Where they lost like 10 in a row or something crazy. Or 10 out of
to Florida.
But everything, I think they need to start trying to get players that can make some more play. And again, I'm a guy that likes to have the puck at the net, and I like bodies going there. But this is a team that when they get to the blue line, pucks are going at the net, and you don't have guys that can retrieve the puck because the rebounds are going past them. So, they spend a lot of territorial time, but it doesn't seem like they end up with a ton of quality scoring chances at the end of a game. So I don't know if Rod's got to tweak his system a little bit, or does that mean they have to bring in some more puck possession kind of players?
It always makes me happy when you bring up quality scoring. You tease me about it so much, but it's true, right? And I just don't know if...
And the goaltending. You got to have health back there.
If Freddie Anderson is indeed healthy like they say he is now, then they could be really
but
problem.
We've heard he's been healthy for the last 5 years, but something always happens
for him. He has that Sam Nestler in him. He gets something just comes up.
Boy, that's
time,
a great analogy.
I know it very
It's not
well.
a good thing to be.
It's not a good thing. I feel for him.
So what do you guys think? Who's the best improved team in the Eastern Conference of the NHL because of the current 2025 offseason?
We all silly like the mayor.